with Erin Doan from Erin Doan State Farm Insurance. Welcome to the new year, Erin, and thanks for stopping by here at the studio.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. And Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you and to Janelle. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
There you go. Let's talk about there is a triangle effect, triangle of protection that we're going to be chatting about coming up this morning over the next few minutes. But also throughout this segment, just kind of that checklist of things that we need to put on our radar for 2024, sort of our insurance New Year's resolution, right? Where we want to make sure that, if something happens any time of the year or maybe things change, we talk about that when it comes to insurance a little bit from time to time, that we are up to date on it. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. I would say that this is a time of year where people like to dive in and go, okay, it's the winter, it's January, it's a new year. What's going on? So my recommendation is, and it seems like a lot of people will dive into this on the weekend when they have little time to think, is to get together with their significant other and go, okay, hey, what do we got going on this year? What's some of our kind of our goals for the year, financially, with insurance, with our budget, and start to make some priorities. And things have happened. I mean, sometimes people have made, oftentimes change of jobs. They've got a new property. They've just recently had a new child. And so those changes in life can definitely impact what's going on with your insurance, not only at work, which most people last year would have changed at the end of the year, but now going into the new year is, what are you trying to protect? Where are the gaps in your personal insurance compared to your benefits at work?
Well, and we do bring this up from time to time that motorists, employers, others sometimes just skip out on insurance. And then it catches up to them. And you mentioned that a whopping 50%. Where is that tied into? What is that number associated with?
Yeah, I think it's just a direct correlation of it's an approximation, Chris. Kind of where you look at it, bigger employers, if you will. Some of the bigger manufacturers in our area, the schools, the hospitals. They can afford a really nice group. A health, life, disability package in addition to your salary. So the smaller employers or self-employed, that's where the gaps can be for the most part that we see, because many small employers just simply can't afford the group benefits that they'd like to. Now, don't get me wrong, some small employers can, and over time as they grow and become more financially sound, can add benefits. But there's times also when things get tough where, the new year, they might have to change and actually get out of benefits. So we're trying to fill in, if you will, what insurance people talk about is that gap, of where your benefits end or the benefits that you don't have.
Can I ask a question in regards to those smaller employers that don't opt for insurance? Has it ever been different? You know what I mean? Like where insurance was kind of in their wheelhouse, that they could offer it to their employees on a regular basis, and you saw that. Was there a change that dramatically happened? Because you've been doing this for over 20 years, right? At this point,
yeah. So I would say to an extent, Chris, there was individual health insurance that was available in the private sector. That as we as consumers know that have been adulting for a while, just know that that's really not really a thing if you're under 65. At 65 you get Medicare and Medicare supplement, but under that you have to go to the Affordable Care Act, which is government based. And outside of that, I think the employers, once that changed, really had to have their employees go out to the Affordable Care Act and go get those policies for their families and figure that space out for health insurance especially.
And that helped out some of those employers too, saying, hey, okay, we can't offer insurance, but it's now available through that option.
For sure. That definitely helped fill in some of those gaps. The challenge is that, as we know, is that a lot of people signing up for that, maintaining that, getting that done, that takes some effort. And what we find in the private sector is that we're in that gap to kind of help people get those policies done, but there's not a way in that space, obviously, to make an income. So we have to, help. And we do. Insurance agents will help people get to that site, encourage them to get that done. But that's really where it ends in that space and trying to get their own health insurance.
All right, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Erin Doan from Erin Doan State Farm Insurance this morning. Janelle, do you know what the triangle of protection is?
I kind of have an idea. So, like, it's 3 different insurance policies, say, like, homeowners, auto, and, like, something else. I don't know.
All right,
deductible.
Erin,
I don't know.
fill in the blanks. Are we close? Is she close?
She's close for sure. Homeowners, and it's
Okay.
where this triangle of protection comes from. Really, is when people are buying a new home or getting homeowners insurance for the first time, buying a home. They're excited. Obviously, people are just super pumped. Need to get that taken care of to close on their mortgage. But the triangle comes into play is where, okay, you have the income to pay the mortgage. What happens if something happens to you? So we use, some kind of play on words, but we call it mortgage protection, which is really in our mind's eye is, that's trying to protect in case, you become significantly hurt outside of work and you're trying to, protect the mortgage if you can't work and don't have income. As many people know, it takes about 1 to 2 years to get Social Security disability income. So it takes a while. And so the triangle comes into play in that space is that it's trying to protect to make sure you can stay in that house and you don't lose the house that you have. And the other part of the other, if you will, triangle element, what is that angle, Chris? You said that off air. That other point, if you will, is you prematurely pass away. So we call that income protection. A lot of people go, well, what's that play on words? Well, it's really, if you look at somebody who made $50,000 a year and had 20 years left to work, that's $1 million of unearned income. And a lot of people don't realize that's your biggest asset is your ability to earn. So the triangle, Janelle, comes into play where you have homeowners, disability insurance, and life insurance to protect if you get hurt or you prematurely pass away.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And so if you're just joining us, we're talking with Erin Doan from State Farm Insurance, Erin Doan State Farm Insurance between Ludington and Scottville there. And that kind of goes in with the big picture of that checklist, going in and saying, is there going to be any life changes? Obviously, we don't know when we're going to pass away. We don't. That's one of the big factors, right? We don't know if we're going to get in an accident today, be injured, or die. Obviously, that's a huge factor there. But you're saying what is some of the changes that you do know that's coming up this year, and start making those adjustments now or start planning for them, and then also take in consideration some of your financial goals into that picture too, right?
Yeah, I think it's those things that happen where all of a sudden, when was the last time we reviewed this? Oh, I don't even know. And they look and say, well, it's got to be a couple years ago. And then all of a sudden you find it was before COVID. It was 2018, 2019. Well, we bought a bigger house, and we've had 2 more kids since then. I think it's those moments in life changes where at the beginning of the year, it's a new year, it's a fresh start. People are looking at, oh my gosh, if something really bad happened, a lot of people go, well, that's kind of morbid. Why are we talking about this morbid topic? Well, because it's real life. Real things happen, risks are out there, and you can't protect every risk and throw money at everything in terms of insurance, but we look at things catastrophically, Chris, right? And Janelle, I mean, if you look at it, what catastrophic could wipe you off the face of the planet? Financially, and there's a tie-in to emotionally. If you don't have the money to take care and stay in your house, that wrecks and hurts families big time. So what we're trying to do is just let people know at the beginning of the year, hey, these changes have happened in your life. This is a great time to reflect and review what you've got covered at work. And especially like the other one is job change. What happened in your benefits with your job change? Are they better or less? Or you don't really know. You just got a better income. So when you go in that better income space, you're like, hey, I just got $4 an hour increase in pay. But what if your benefits got significantly reduced and you don't even really completely realize it? It's that change that we're trying to have a conversation with people about.
Right. So do you think it's time to adjust your deductibles to potentially lower premiums or vice versa?
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to consider right now with inflation. If you have emergency savings, deductibles can be a good option for you. But you got to be really careful in that space. Just, it's kind of, a place where if you don't have that emergency savings and you have $1,000 deductible, you could get hurt. But we've been noticing, and I've heard this from other insurance agent owners, is that this is a conversation that's happened for everybody. So if you're looking at like, hey, my insurance this past year has gone quite a bit up, and we found that and heard that from every other insurance agency. Deductibles can be a good place to consider saving money, but again, please hear me out. Make sure that you have emergency savings to cover that deductible.
What before we wrap up this morning, and if you're just joining us, we're talking with Erin Doan from Erin Doan State Farm Insurance. Erin, with technology that's out there now and cybersecurity and the breaches in businesses' security, as well as individuals, is that much of a factor? I mean, we talk about it, but are we there where we need to seriously look at things, or are we still just kind of on the edge of that, if you don't mind sharing that with us this morning?
I would say 10 years ago, we were on the edge of that, but we're seeing a significant increase in if you will, fraudulent activity. And so the biggest one, Chris, that people wonder about this space personally is, how do people get my information? Well, as everybody knows now, the passwords are getting longer, more complex. We often have to do a third-party text code that we have to enter in to get into the apps or the websites we want to use. That should tell everyone that is a clear indication that there is significantly more fraud and stealing through this space. So we do provide cyber protection through our homeowners policy, and that provides a case manager to help you get your identity back. So what is a specific thing that people do? It's this. They get your information, Social Security number, they take out a loan in your name fraudulently, and that's where that happens, and you don't even know that it's happening. So you don't find out till later if you're not checking the credit bureaus and checking your credit to see that that's actually even happening. Even if you're not buying something on credit, this can happen, and people don't realize it for months, if not years.
Right.
Very, very scary. And this gets to one of our last questions. I know Janelle has a question for you, but we have we've talked about different branches of insurance this morning, and that's part of that checklist that we've got to do. But it can be complicated, I would assume. And you have a question in regards to that, right?
So are there opportunities to bundle your insurance policy for potential discounts? Like I know, Charter and stuff, they have, they'll ask, hey, how many TVs do you want to cover, phone, stuff like that. So I imagine there's discounts.
It's a great question. And as we all know, watching all these football games, is that the insurance companies are coming out of the woodwork in terms of advertising, especially in this bundling space. Jake is pretty good at that.
Yeah.
Talking about that's pretty funny. But the easiest way I can say that is the two biggest are auto and home.
Okay.
And for State Farm, and some people have never heard what I'm going to say next, but there's also this thing called an umbrella policy. And right now in Michigan, if you hurt somebody else and they don't have health insurance, which we talked about earlier, and they don't have car insurance, you could be liable for their medical bills.
Yeah.
That changed in July of 2020 with no-fault reform. So that's definitely a very serious thing in this space to make sure that that's covered. And so, So it's
almost like, even though you have like a certain triangle, you could kind of make your own triangle there with, your homeowners, your auto, and health insurance, technically, because everybody would need that.
Sure.
I mean, if you own your home.
I think it's the big things. There's a lot of times where I talk about liability being a big one.
Yep.
Right. So they're kind of things that happen that people resonate with.
Yep.
They prematurely pass. Okay, they can kind of get that. They lose their property to fire.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So those bigger things, but you're right in terms of the products, auto, home, health related, and you could obviously.
And I know, in the past, we've talked about, I remember me and you had this talk about, say somebody gets, you get in say I'm married, you get in a car accident, and say your significant other leaves you, stuff like that. Like, you're the only one say you're making income, or you get disability or something like that. It takes a couple years. So you have no income at that point. And then that's where like you kind of step in with the insurance. So then you're covered, and then your house and stuff like that. Like you could lose everything not having all those insurances.
Yeah, that would be what would consider a gap in time, right? Because is Social Security a gap stop?
Yep.
For sure. It's about a third of your income, and it takes a year or two to get it. So we're trying to fill in that gap beforehand for that.
So you don't lose everything.
You don't lose everything.
Right.
And I think people go, well, wait, this is going to be way too expensive. Well, I can tell you that we do a lot of policies for people in their 20s and 30s, especially where the premiums are in their $20 a month range. Okay, the short-term disability policy, which could get you to that 2-year mark, that's going to be for somebody who works in retail or office, that's around $30 or so a month.
Oh, that's
so
not bad
for
at all.
$50 a month, you can be protecting these catastrophic things, and people don't even realize that it's that affordable.
All right. Good information this morning. If you want more information, obviously the team at Erin Doan State Farm Insurance, that's who you want to connect with. Right there between Ludington and Scottville on the north side of the road. Make sure you give them a call. How do they reach you, Erin? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we're available. I have 4 licensed full-time team members that we all work together as a great team. And you can, we're a half a mile east on Meyer on US 10. We service literally the whole state. So if you're from the surrounding areas, we definitely would love to talk to you. You can call us at 231-757-3115, or you can find us on the internet at ludingtoninsurance.com.
All right, sounds great. Thanks for taking some time to hang out with us as we launch the beginning of the year, and that's the big topic of conversation is talk with your agent, reach out to Erin Doan State Farm Insurance as an example here, and say, okay, let's plan out 2024 and get it done right now. I mean, that's kind of that New Year's resolution.
Not only that, like I feel like everybody is going to be filing taxes, so you need all your insurance information. I think it's a good time to just look at all that and kind of brainstorm.
All right, let's make Erin and his team busy. Okay.
Appreciate it, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. 8:39 on 102.7 Mom FM and Hot Country Hits.